Please welcome to the stage Axios senior media reporter, Sara Fischer.
Thank you so much again for joining us today. Our next guest is going to be talking us about what's next, both for the future of play and the future of work. Please welcome Anjali Sud, the CEO of Vimeo.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course, it's great to be here. Great to be in DC.
Yes, and we've been wanting to have this conversation forever, ever since Vimeo went public. It was an extraordinary time, the highs of the pandemic. Things are a little bit different now, but I wanted to start with news of the day. Vimeo has partnered with TikTok to do a lot of the creation around ads for their creators, but TikTok's under a lot of pressure right now. What is Vimeo's take on that? Do you think they should be banned? How would that impact your business if they were?
So Vimeo's approach is we're kind of platform neutral. We partner with all the social media platforms, so TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And our perspective is we want to help the creators of video and the marketers and all of you who are trying to use video more at work. We want to help you get your content where your audience is. And if your audience is spending all of their hours of a day on TikTok, then we absolutely need to partner with a platform like TikTok. Our perspective is fairly neutral. We like to think of ourselves as like the Switzerland for creators when everyone else is battling for eyeballs and ad dollars. You'll see us continue to partner with TikTok and any other social platform where audiences are. And I'll just say this, I think we will be prepared for any evolution of which social media platforms are out there. And I have a hypothesis, I think about my kids now and I'm like, by the time they're older, what platforms are they gonna be on? Who knows? They're probably gonna look a little bit different than the ones today. And so our job at Vimeo is to make sure we're thinking ahead and building the right tools that work with all of these platforms.
Fascinating that you are Switzerland when it comes to working with the social media platforms, because Vimeo used to compete with the likes of YouTube especially. Walk us through the evolution of being a social platform to now being more of an enterprise business solution. Why did you make that jump?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, YouTube has, for over a decade was Vimeo's #1 competitor. We were kind of known as the indie ad-free version of YouTube. And now they're one of our biggest partners. We help creators and marketers create content, and we actually help them natively publish and share that content on YouTube. And so it has been quite an adjustment. And in our case, I think when we looked at the ecosystem, this was about 6-7 years ago, we just developed a hypothesis that the same thing that was happening in our personal lives, the TikTokification, we're all like constantly creating content and communicating using video, that the same thing was gonna happen at work. That every company was gonna start using video to train employees, to engage and communicate with employees. And so we just saw this really big, interesting market opportunity where there really wasn't tools and software that was designed to help any employee create high quality content, share high quality content. And so we saw that opportunity and we felt like Vimeo was uniquely positioned to serve it because we didn't make money from advertising. Because if you're ad-based, you need to keep eyeballs and audience on your platform. But if you're subscription or SaaS-based, which is what Vimeo is, then we actually have every incentive to help you get your content off Vimeo. And so ultimately, that's kind of how we came up with this sort of strategy of we'll be the Switzerland, we'll sort of be the mission control or home for people to create content, get it out there, and we'll move our business model to be more like enterprise software.
In moving your business model, you were able to scale very quickly. Vimeo was valued at $10 billion when you IPO'd in May 2021, but things have changed. I was looking this morning, your stock is down to about $3 from 56. Your market cap is about $600 million. That's less than 10x what it was when you went public. Do you regret going public?
It's a great question. Definitely regret the timing. It was we really came out right at the peak of the pandemic. But ultimately, I genuinely mean this when I say I think of the value we're creating not in days or quarters, but in years. And I think if you look at the market for video, it probably feels now like we're using video more at work, but really all we're doing is meetings. And if you actually think about so much of your communication, documentation, emails, Slack threads, where it could be so much more human and visual and connected and engaging with video, I think we're super early. So ultimately, I try not to sweat the sort of undulations of the stock. I do think deeply about how do we make sure Vimeo is winning and gaining share and growing sustainably and profitably in that market. And for us, it comes down to, are we building the right products that people will use and that will make video dramatically easier at work? Are we proving the return on investment so that when you use video, your employees are more engaged, or someone absorbs a communication more easily, or from a marketing perspective, you're able to sell and market something better? And that's really what we've been focused on. And I will say this, being in the public markets, it does force a level of rigor and discipline. That's not a bad thing. As long as you can be appropriately long-term oriented, and I think we've been working hard to strike that right balance, then the sort of rigor and discipline can actually be really healthy, particularly in an environment like this.
So going back to the idea about being sustainable and profitable, do you think Vimeo will be profitable for the full year of 2023?
Well, we shared that we were profitable for the last 2 quarters on an adjusted EBITDA basis, free cash flow positive. We have, nearly $300 million of cash on our balance sheet, so very, very stable. And we've certainly guided that we expect it to be profitable on an adjusted EBITDA basis. I also think the real question is are you growing efficiently? Right? Is every sort of dollar of growth really truly as efficient as it can be? I think we, like most companies, particularly in software, are still on that journey. And so, I think we will post good profitability metrics, but I would say we're still on a multi-year journey to truly be the most efficient business we can be with our capital.
Let's talk about that journey, because in moving from being a creator platform for individuals over now more so to having your business reflect enterprise and corporations, you have to sort of straddle this interesting clientele of some very, very small businesses, some very large ones. Do you think you're ever going to go to a point where you drop off some of the individual creators and just focus on big enterprise businesses that are more lucrative, or do you want to continue to serve this very small creator?
I don't think we'll ever get to that point. That's not our strategy. And I'll explain a little bit why. So it's true that today, if you look at our revenue and where most of our growth is coming from, it is coming from the largest companies in the world adopting video and using Vimeo. Companies like American Airlines or Coca-Cola or Deloitte are all using video and Vimeo for work. If you look, though, at those enterprise customers, the vast majority actually, somebody starts for free on the Vimeo platform. So it'll be, a creative producer or a social media manager. Somebody is experiencing and trying video and trying Vimeo through our free platform. And so, so we have sort of, our perspective is the way you use our tools, no matter whether you're a large company or you're a small company or you're an individual, the user experience should be simple, right? It should be easy and simple. And it's really going to be about what value you get and your willingness to pay. And so we love our freemium model. We think it's one of our long-term advantages. And over time, we think it will allow us to acquire and attract demand and customers more efficiently than if you actually had to have a salesperson go out and go and sort of find that customer. So we think it's a great differentiator. And actually this year, of course, we're very focused on near-term kind of monetization. We're also putting a lot of our roadmap and attention on improving our free product and improving our user experience so that anyone, regardless of their budget, expertise, or sophistication, can use our tools.
But just to push back on that a little bit, there was some pushback from creators last year who argued, well, Vimeo is starting to charge me now for bandwidth. That's not something I can afford. That's something a big corporation can afford. Why did you make that decision knowing that it could alienate some of the smaller customers?
Yeah, that's it's interesting when you pivot a platform that has 300 million users and has been around a long time, and you shift a business model, you are inevitably forced to make trade-offs. And in that case, what I will say is, really, we charge for bandwidth because there are companies that effectively are streaming so much content, they're monetizing their content, and their alternative would actually be like an AWS, which is far more expensive. And if you look at the bandwidth revenue we drive, it's a large business. It's one of our stickiest, meaning customers actually find a lot of value and satisfaction when they're on there. I do think, when you think about that instance, and it's a great lesson, is when you are pivoting your business model, being transparent and proactive in communicating what you're doing and why, for sure, is a lesson for us. Because if we, I think, had been clear about what that offering was for, we wouldn't have had that confusion from our creators. There are creators, by the way, who do see value and use bandwidth as an option, but it's not designed for them. And ultimately, I think that was something that we have taken a lesson from. And we've certainly been much more proactive about changes in the last year. And I think it's helped us continue to make that pivot in a way that's less alienating.
You talked about improving the freemium product as well as improving some of the enterprise product. How are you doing that? Like, what are the new features that you're adding that are showing signs of traction?
Yeah, so most everything we do is just about radically simplifying how quickly and easily you can create great video content. Doing it in your browser, doing it in a matter of clicks, versus if you think about in the past where you had to have a huge budget, you had to hire a set of professionals, you had to write a script, you had to shoot something, you had to have someone edit it in an editing bay. And that we're effectively trying to take all of that and keep boiling it down so that people can start creating great content in a matter of minutes. And so you'll see from us some of the things we've invested in. Everyone is live streaming events and town halls now, right? And actually, if you think about this event, there's a whole production crew, there's a ton of equipment backstage, making sure you can switch scenes and add graphics and do all. We're effectively creating all of that in a browser version so that it's super easy for literally anyone to stage and pull off a high production live event. Another example is using machine learning and AI to make it way easier to edit videos. So something you'll be seeing coming from Vimeo soon is, say you record a video, we'll automatically create a transcript of that video, and then you can edit the transcript like a Google Doc, and the video will edit immediately after that. So great example, we could take this recording of me, and every time I say or ah or like, which I sometimes do, the recording can remove that in clicks. And so those are some of the capabilities that you'll see Vimeo start to do. And then maybe a third one that's worth calling out is we've also realized that the UX for video is super outdated. If we all just take a giant step back, we're spending hours every day just sitting there kind of with a rectangle box and a chat. That's video right now. It's not actually designed so that you can feel the sentiment of an audience or feel connected like you could in person. So you'll also see us make some sort of big bets in UX to try and just make video feel more human and connected than it has historically.
Can we go back to the AI thing? Because even though I can see a positive use case like the one that you laid out, I can see a lot of bad actors using this to manipulate editorial conversations, to manipulate news events, to make it seem like they said something, but in reality, they just used your quick AI tool to filter something out. Are you worried about how are you going to police those use cases for misinformation and things like that?
I mean, I think similar to a lot of the concerns that have been out there around AI, for sure there's real concerns. For sure, we're going to need the right regulation, and we're going to need platforms like Vimeo and others to partner in developing the right ways to, provide safety, security, fight misinformation. By the way, we're still an open UGC platform. We've been doing that for many years, and we continue to do that. And we do quite a lot of work to make sure the content that's uploaded to Vimeo is, accurate and doesn't create real-world harm. So I think AI is absolutely opening up a whole can of worms that we have to solve. At the same time, I think the way to solve it and the right way for platforms like Vimeo to engage is we need to be proactive. We need to be part of this, not afraid of it. And I will say, one of the things we obviously hear a lot from our creators is a concern of is AI gonna limit creativity? Is it gonna prevent people from being able to tell their stories? And we're obviously taking the approach, it's on us to make sure that the potential of AI is that it accelerates creativity, right? It has to make it easier so that if you have an idea, you don't have to find a piece of stock footage that represents that idea. You can just generate it. And how that could actually help us with storytelling and help us with creativity. So I think, we are taking a very kind of optimistic, cautiously optimistic approach, but we also recognize this is not something we're gonna solve overnight, but the best way to solve it is get in there, start building things, trying things, and be flexible and willing to partner in the right ways.
It's interesting that you said that you need the right regulation, that Vimeo supports that. Right now, YouTube, who's a partner of yours, is a part of Google, which is facing a massive DOJ lawsuit against some of their advertising dominance, et cetera. What do you make of the government's push right now on platforms like that? Do you agree that they should be sued? Do you think that it's harmful for the industry? What do you think?
I think generally, my perspective, and I think Vimeo's perspective, and we've, I think, demonstrated this over the years, has always been a willingness and a desire to partner to create practical, effective reform and regulations in environments like ours. We have to recognize the responsibility that we have as an open UGC platform, and we have to take that responsibility seriously. And so I'm supportive of regulations and partnering that is pragmatic and reasonable. Where it can sometimes get, I think, not as productive as when it becomes more of a stick versus a carrot, or more of the, we're gonna police certain things versus find ways to create a free and open internet, to encourage competition, all of those things. So, I won't comment specifically on this other than to say, I think as a platform, Vimeo, we will continue to take a neutral approach with any partner, and we will continue to look at how we can productively, work with government.
And when it comes to Vimeo as a business, taking 100-foot level, we talked a bit about your stock and what it's like right now to trade as a public company. Vimeo has had layoffs. You laid off 11% of the company at the outset of January. You had 6% layoffs last year to account for some of the stresses in migrating to an enterprise platform and what that means to the business. Do you expect you're going to have more layoffs in 2023, or do you look out at the remainder of this year and think that you're settled and happy now with the cuts?
Well, I certainly hope we don't have to do layoffs. That's obviously a last resort and never a place you want to be. And I think we are well positioned right now. We've demonstrated profitability. We have a very strong balance sheet. We have recurring sticky customers. I will also say, I think we're sort of, the pendulum has kind of swung from this idea of growth at all costs to efficiency. And I think for any leader that's going through that right now, it's a journey. These are not things that get solved in a quarter or in a week from a decision. It's culture, it's changing your DNA and looking at every single investment that you make and doing it thoughtfully. And again, I do think for Vimeo, our journey will continue on this front. We have plenty of room to go to continue to be more efficient. But I also think we're standing on a really strong foundation. We've made difficult but necessary changes. And I think we have the right team in place right now and sort of the tools to be very successful in the next few years.
Like Nick, we want to end on one fun thing as well. That's what we do here at Axios. What is one video use case that you're finding in the workforce that is completely unexpected but has become the norm?
Interactive video. So it's really interesting. We launched this interactive video capability, so you can just drag and drop clickable hotspots in a video. You can make something.
What's a hotspot?
It's like a little plus sign in a video that you can click on. Let's say I'm oh, well, there's a video of you, and I really want to buy that really cute suit you're wearing. I can link out, make it shoppable, right? And we launched this thinking that actually shoppable video and e-commerce would be the main use case. Interestingly, in the last 6 to 9 months, it's been employee training. Companies are now saying that when they try and train an employee on the job, I use a great example. When was the last time you bought something at Amazon that needed an instruction manual and actually read the instruction manual? No, you searched on YouTube and you watched what to do. This idea that the way we're going to learn on the job is going to be from just watching is, I think, really taking off. And what we're finding is the next generation of employees don't have the attention spans, nor do they learn in a way that's lean back. They don't just sit and absorb something. They want to click and interact and take a poll, and they want to do things, and they want to have a personalized sort of choose your own adventure journey to learn. And so our interactive tools are being adopted very quickly and in a way that definitely exceeded our expectations by companies that are using it to train their younger workforces. And I think that is going to be the norm. I think in a couple years, we're all going to be like, what? I had to read a Word document? That's insane. So, that's hopefully a place Vimeo will be well positioned in.
I wish I had that when I had to figure out how to set up my printer. It's those types of things, right? Anjali Sud, this was an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining What's Next.
Thank you.